So we start on top with HR strategy and planning. So my first question is, we're going to talk about a company strategy. Yeah, you will hear this term multiple times during studies in your career. Strategy. The question here is, how is a company strategy related to HR strategy? And this question must sound very weird to you. Yeah? What does that mean? I'm going to talk about this. As part of an HR strategy, which company functions should be of highest priority? You talk about the question, which is more important? Research and development, marketing, sales? What is of highest importance? Yeah, that's a really key question. And then the next question is, can we predict, or in other terms, can we plan how many people of what kind a company needs in the upcoming years? Of course, there are some methods, and I would like to share with you some of the most important methods, okay? But let's start with the first question. Here are some strategies, or sometimes we also name it strategic priorities. The question is, what is of highest priority for a company? What I've shown you here are 5 different strategies, and I try to assign companies where we know, or at least I think, that this should be the strategy of this particular company. Again, what is strategy? What is strategy? Sorry. A plan. It's about the future. It's a long-term plan. A strategy is not about what I do tomorrow. A strategy is about what I do in the upcoming years. 5, 10, 15 years, right? So strategy is always long-term, and it's in the future. But there's one important aspect which I want you to see whenever we talk about strategy. There is a management thinker who said, strategy means to say no. Huh? I mean, that's true. Strategy means to say no. Strategy means to be focused. Yeah? A company cannot be a leader in quality, in innovation, in price, in brand, in global presence, in everything. Companies cannot be the best in everything. That's not possible, because resources are limited. Once you can't be the best in everything, price, quality, presence, brand, and so on, you must focus. Okay? And the question for a company is always, where do we want to be strong? Is it we want to deliver the most innovative products? Yeah? Like Apple or BMW or companies like Roche Pharmaceutical. They really differentiate themselves through innovation. If you ask the CEO, Chief Executive Officer, Vorstandsvorsitzender of these companies, what is of highest importance for our company, for your company, so that you will be there still in 5 or 10 years? Yeah, the strategy is the answer. At Apple, I would say, because we will exist in 5 years because we are more innovative than the others. Okay? They will not say because we produce products which are cheaper than those of the others. No, it's not about price, it's about innovation. While here, look at those companies, Red Bull. Red Bull is not about innovation, not at all. I mean, this guy who founded this company, he really worked long, a couple of years, to really define this essence which makes up the Red Bull. But then it stopped changing, like Coca-Cola. Yeah, It's not about innovation. It's even not about price. I mean, it's terribly expensive, Red Bull. Yeah? It's simply about the brand. Brand. Brand means the people know us, the people like us, and the people, they have very clear associations with the name, with the logo and everything. There's a clear promise in the market that people understand. So, you compare Red Bull with Roche, yeah? Totally different priorities. Price. There are companies out there say, well, we will exist in 5 or 10 years. We will still exist because why? Because we will make it to offer products and services at the cheapest possible price. Again, it's not about innovation. Yeah? Aldi is not about innovation. Not at all. It's the opposite. Stick to things. Don't change things. Yeah? Changing things is expensive. Yeah? So Aldi is about price only. Yeah? Ryanair. Yeah, it's about price only. Then some companies differentiate themselves against their competitors through design. Say, well, we are not the cheapest one. We are not very innovative. But we have the best design in the world. Full stop. Yeah. Yeah. Or the right one, quality. Lufthansa. Why should somebody use Lufthansa? Because of quality. Because people say, if you fly with Lufthansa compared to flying with Ryanair, hey, Lufthansa, German reliability. They are in time. Good service. Yeah, it's about quality. It's not about price. It's not about innovation. It's not about the brand. It's the same with General Electric. They focus so much on quality. Yeah, zero tolerance with regards to quality. Quality. We produce the best possible quality. Or IWC, Schaffhausen. Yeah, watches. It's about quality. Of course, the best design in the world, but it's about quality. You buy this watch one time in your life, and the upcoming generation can use it. It's not damageable. It's perfect, precise. Yeah. Expensive. Yeah. So what I want to show you here is, whenever we talk about strategy, it's about the question: what is of highest importance for the company's future? Yeah, and again, compare the different brands like Ryanair, Lufthansa. Same industry, but different priorities. Here's the question, please.
Is there a possibility that a company has to have like 2 of these topics to be like the best?
Yeah.
There is.
I have one example here. Apple. Yeah. It's really innovation and design. It's both.
But is it necessary?
It was never price. Yeah?
But is it necessary that they have innovation and design?
No, it's not necessary.
Okay, but
that also reflects the minds of the executives. Yeah, I mean, Steve Jobs. He was crazy about design. Yeah, totally. Yeah. He loved good design. Yeah, he once said, the biggest problem with Microsoft is they have no taste. Yeah. Every product must look good, must look sexy, magic, design. That was Steve Jobs. The other founder, Steve Wozniak, it was about innovation. So this combination of these two guys were the building blocks of Apple. Having the newest technology brought into the best design. And this combination, that was the ultimate strategic priority of Apple. And it was never price. Yeah? Or other things. Okay? Of course. Don't get me wrong. It's not that companies that focus on innovation don't take care about brand, price, design, quality. Of course, BMW, they have designers. But it's if you ask a executive at BMW, why should somebody buy BMW and not Mercedes? They will never ever say because of the design. They will say, yes, the design of our car is perfect, but that's not the ultimate reason. Yeah? If it's about design, yeah, then you rather should buy an Audi. I don't know. So, the first point is that you understand this term strategy. You can have an entire lecture about strategy, but that's enough for us now. The question now is, companies have strategies. These are just some terms that relate to this. A company like BMW, of course, they have certain strategic challenges. How can we come up with a competitive e-vehicle, electronic vehicle? How can we cope with the Chinese competition? Yeah? How can we become more efficient? Yeah? To protect the climate? Yeah? We talked about strategic priorities. It's about business objectives. Where do we want to be in the next 10 years? What is our market share in the next 10 years? How is the profit revenue? And so what are our competitive advantages? Or in other terms, where do we want to be better than the others? What is our vision? Where do we want to be in the future? These are just some terms around this term strategy. Yeah? You see, it's about the future, it's about challenges, priorities. So this is one thing. The question now is, what does that mean for the people? Okay? So I'll give you an example. Look at the Deutsche Telekom, yeah? German telecommunication company. This company was formerly owned by public, yeah? Was a monopolist. And it happened like with every monopolist, they really had a lousy quality. Really, it was bad. Then Deutsche Telekom became a normal company, yeah, that needed to compete against others. And they defined a clear strategy. 10 years ago or so, Deutsche Telekom said, our strategy is, we will provide the best service in our industry, best service at the lowest price, full stop. Quality, price. Now, question to you. A company like Deutsche Telekom, like any other telecommunication company, if they want to deliver the best possible quality, service quality, what does that mean for the employee?
They have to work better.
They have to work better? What does that mean?
Long hours.
Huh?
Long hours.
Okay. Yeah?
Longer working hours.
Longer working hours?
Better education.
Better education. Think in easier terms. Yeah? You enter a sales shop of Telecom.
Motivation.
Motivation? How do you see motivation?
Benefits.
Benefits?
Incentives.
Incentives?
Works.
Think about very simple things. If Telecom wants to deliver best possible quality, the people must be friendly. Huh? They have to have a smile on their face. They must respond fastly. Yeah? If you enter a telecom shop, they must be well informed about their products and their services. They must be able to cope even with the most difficult client. Yeah? So these are very simple competencies. Yeah? Saying thank you. Yeah? Please. Okay? Knowing the customer, knowing the products. If a company wants to deliver best possible quality, that means that the people have certain competencies like good knowledge, friendliness, empathy, all these things, you know. And then the question is, if we want to have this, because it's necessary to translate this strategy into success, what should we do in HR? Another example, a similar example. Deutsche Bahn. Even worse. Deutsche Bahn, 20 years ago, traveling with a train, that was a mess. Yeah? Well, there was no thank you. Thank you for choosing Deutsche Bahn. Thank you for traveling with. Yeah? Yeah. Thank you for traveling. There was no thank you, no please, nothing. That was really worse. Yeah. When the train finished, the message was, alles aussteigen. That's wrong. It means alle aussteigen. Alles aussteigen. All out. You know, there was a German term used by the Deutsche Bahn people. It was not the guest. You were a Beförderungsfall. A logistic case, so to speak. It's really worse. So, the Deutsche Bahn really did a lot to say, well, we want to compete in the market, we have to increase our service quality. So that means for the people that they have to be motivated to be friendly. They have to be able to be friendly. Yeah? They want to be friendly, they can be friendly. Very simple. During the World Championship in soccer, the Deutsche Bahn said, well, we have a lot of thousands, millions of foreign guests traveling in our trains. So, the people in the train, our employees, must be able to speak English. Yeah? Since then, you hear this message, thank you for traveling with Deutsche Bahn. Before 2006, there was no English message. It started from 2006 with the World Championship. That meant, so the message here was, we have to have employees which are able to speak English. That meant, on HR side, human resource management, that they had to train 50,000 people in speaking English. Okay? Now you see the linkage, and this is just one simple example. Here is a strategy. Here's the question, what does that mean for the people? What do we have to do to have these employees which we have to have at the end of the day? So, your exercise is really for the preparation of the exam. Take any company you like, yeah? McDonald's, Google, ThyssenKrupp, I don't care, and think about what is the strategy of this company. And if this is the strategy of the company, what does that mean for the people? And if this is what it means for the people, what must HR have to do in terms of training, development, recruiting, maybe layoffs or other things? Sorry, but may I ask you to check the room?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Okay, got it?
Question. Does
Please.
it have to be a company that went from bad to good? Like there's
No.
Any.
It applies for any company in the world. When I think of mid-sized companies here in the Black Forest, for many companies they have very specific challenge, strategic challenge. They have to expand to Asia, for instance. If this is a strategy to expand, to grow, to follow your customers, that means that employees must be able to work on a global basis. That's much more than just talking and speaking the language. Intercultural skills and so on. Yeah? Doing business in China. Yeah? To ensure this, you must do something in HR. You can always apply this logic. It's quite simple. Now there is a next idea which is really important. Before we come to the next idea about how to translate a strategy into an HR strategy, here you see an overview of the most common functions in companies. Yeah, probably you know about most. Let me say some comments about product management. This is a function where people think about the products in the future or the existing products. Yeah, in a company like Procter & Gamble, for instance, you have hundreds of products. And for every product, there is somebody who is responsible for this toothbrush. Yeah? Okay? So product management is about thinking, what should we do in the future? Which products will be successful in the market? Which are demanded? And so on. And then we have R&D, which means Research and Development. Forschung und Entwicklung. Research and Development. There you primarily find scientists. Yeah? In BMW you have a huge R&D department. They do research about how to build engines which are more efficient than the past ones. Yeah? Or in the pharmaceutical industry you have a lot of researchers. Okay? And then design. Yeah? How must the product look like? And then production planning. How do we produce it? Where do we produce the product? Yeah? And then the actual production and engineering, where the products are produced. And then we have marketing. Okay, some would say marketing must be at the beginning. We don't care. Marketing, the 4 Ps. What is the price of the product? How to promote the product, and all these things. And then, of course, sales. You have to sell the product. Not only doing marketing, communicate, but to sell it, distribute it. Yeah? And for the bigger clients, we have something which we call a key account management. Key account management. A key account is a very big, important client. Yeah? And there are key account managers taking care for the relationship to these very important clients. And then we have service and support. You have problems with your car, okay, call the service and support department. Hotline, call centers. And there are some functions which support these core functions. Quality management, yeah, IT, controlling, accounting, you know better what that is. HR, of course, facility, close myself. Public relations, communications, purchase. Yeah, Einkauf, purchase. They take care of the purchasing products, material, production, machines, materials, maybe logistics. And above all, we have management. Now, I don't care whether or not you understand these different functions. Yeah. My question is, what is the most important function? Don't say HR. It's definitely not.
R&D.
Huh?
Research and development.
Research and development, yes, of course. Research and development is the most important department because if they don't do well, I mean, you cannot be innovative. You will not come up with the latest products. You cannot compete with innovative products. Yeah, so R&D is the most important function. Do you all agree?
Actually, this is different. Like, if we went back to the strategy, then we will see that for Red Bull, R&D are nothing because it's not needed. Actually, what is needed is something else, maybe marketing. So I think it just depends on the company.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like there is no function that I can say that this is the most important function.
No?
Nope.
No?
Nope. Not for me.
Sir?
You can't make the Red Bull from scratch without research.
Yes, you don't have the Red Bull without research and development.
Yeah, well, actually, but a function is something that works not only for one time, that works all the time.
Oh, you're right.
They have to function, you know.
They can get rid of this particular function. Yeah.
I would would say marketing is quite important, because even if you have the most useless product in the world, if you have the right marketing, the right commercial, you
Yes.
can sell anything.
Yes. So, if you have the best product in the world, if you don't have a proper marketing, you lose. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Or even if you have a lousy product with a good marketing, you still can you still can win. Yeah? Yes, of course. Marketing is the most important function. You suffer.
It's about like a timetable, like the importance of the single like RD
The
or
life
design.
cycle, the life cycle of a product, different
Yes.
functions become
More higher importance.
That's interesting. Right? It's very differentiated. You must like this, huh? Yeah. At some point, R&D is the most important, but then if they got that job, and they done that job well, production planning is the most important. So it's yeah. Yeah, which is the most important? You also can say it's a silly question, because every function is important. If a function is not important, it wouldn't be there. And can you imagine a company like BMW without design? Can you imagine a company like BMW without IT? No. Without purchase? No. You have to have all these functions. It's a silly question to think about what is the most important. They are all important. That's a perspective, but you can also say it could be that everything is of equal importance. So there must be something which is more important than the rest.
I guess we could categorize the core functions as being vital and not so vital. Research and development obviously is vital. If you don't have a seed, let's say, or you need to start with something, and you can live without marketing. Your product's going to suck, it's not going to sell, but you're still going to have something to sell. So I guess research and development, in my opinion, definitely starts the chain of importance and continues on with other things that we may or may not live with.
Okay, good, very good. I agree.
I think even for marketing, we need to do research first, like which is our target group and all, like what type of product do we need to deliver to them. And
First comes R&D
R&D.
and marketing, yeah?
But without even the only so-called supportive functions like IT, R&D couldn't even start
That's right.
working.
That's why IT is the most important function. Because with IT, you take care for the, let's say, the nerve system of a company. Yeah? Shut down IT, and the company will stuck. Yeah?
Well, I would say another most important function is the production, because if you don't have
Yes.
anything to sell, then
Thank you.
why would you need marketing
Thank
and
you.
IT and everything else if you couldn't produce anything for people to buy?
Absolutely. You have a wonderful R&D, wonderful marketing. Hey, somebody has to produce this stuff. Yeah? If you don't have this production, manufacturing, assembly, you can forget about the rest. Somebody has to produce this car. Yeah? And this is where the value is created, in the production, not on the paper and not on the ad. It's in the production. You are right. That's why production is the most important function in the totally confused. Now, let's stop this here. I think you really got the point. Yeah? It depends on the strategy. Yeah? And this is something I really want you to see. We spoke about strategy, different strategic priorities. There is a company which is focused on innovation. If innovation is the strategic priority of a company, which function is the most important one? R&D. If it is brand, which function?
Design.
Design, marketing. Marketing. If it is price, sales, yeah?
Product planning is also.
Purchase, right. If you can purchase the material and the machine at a cheap price, low price, then you can sell your products at a low price. Yeah, absolutely. If you look at Aldi, they must have a strong purchase department. Yeah, the best purchasers in the world, maybe. Okay, so this is something which I want you really to understand, and this leads me to this last slide for today. And you must understand this slide. It's key. What we spoke about in the last half an hour was there are functions in companies which are of high strategic relevance, and there are functions which are of low strategic relevance. Again, what does that mean? You focus on innovation. Innovation is your highest priority. Then R&D is of highest strategic relevance, while the others are of lower strategic relevance. You have to have these. You have to have IT. You have to have logistics and all these things, maybe. But it's not so important. Yeah? Or in other terms, the question is really, where do you have to have maybe the best people in the market? In R&D or in marketing? In design and production? Yeah? Where do you have to have the best people? And where do you have to have good people? Okay? This is this dimension. And I really want you that I give you a name of a company, a well-known company. This was a question in the exam, by the way. Yeah? The question was something like OD. Yeah? What might be a key function at OD? Which function at OD is of highest priority? Please argue. You have to understand the strategy then. What is important to this company? And then tell which function is of highest importance. This is something you should be able to do.
Quality.
Yeah? Quality, for instance. Whether it's right or wrong, you have to be able to argue. Okay? So that I can see that you have understood this idea. So, there is the other dimension, which is talent availability. Availability of where? In the labor market. Arbeitsmarkt. Yeah? How easy is it to find somebody for purchase? How easy is it to find somebody for R&D, for marketing? Yeah? So, these circles here, they represent functions. Right? So, as you can see now, there are some functions which are on the right side, maybe on top. And those are functions which are absolutely critical for the company. At the same time, the availability of people is low on top. Yeah? It's hard to find people for this function, while the function is absolutely critical. Roche is focusing on innovation. Yeah? Creating the newest innovative product in the pharmaceutical industry. And they focus very much on oncology. Yeah, it's about cancer. For Roche, it's very hard to find oncologists, really scientists which are specialized on oncology, cancer. But it's important for Roche. So this function then is here on the right side. It's a key function. All functions on the right side are key functions. Strategically important function. And in my example, the function would be on top. That's a totally different story for human resource management than having a function here. Yeah? Where the function is necessary, not of highest importance, and at the same time it's easy to find people for this function.
How come it says high in the left bottom corner?
High availability.
Okay.
It's a little bit misleading. Yeah? high availability is there are a lot of people in the labor market. Yeah, the function is easy to be filled. It's easy to recruit people because there are a lot of people out there who want to work for you. There is a second dimension, which is talent availability. What does that mean? It's of different. It's functions differ with regards to how easy it is to get people. Right? Look at a company like, let's take a German one, Aldi. Yeah? You all know Aldi. How difficult is it to hire a cashier? Kassierer. It's easy. Yeah, you post an ad, you collect the applications, you make a choice, and it's done. It's easy because there are enough people out there who need a job. Okay? And there are enough people who are enough qualified for a job like this. Now we learned last time that in a company like this, in a discounter, purchase department is of high strategic relevance. How hard is it to hire one of the best purchase managers for a company like this? It's incredibly difficult. Okay? So, don't be confused here. When I say talent availability high, that means that there are many people out there which you can hire. It's easy. While talent availability low, on the top of the picture, means that there are not enough people out there so that a company can fill their positions. Okay? So now when we combine these two dimensions and you look at these circles represent functions. You will find functions there minus strategic relevance. They are necessary. Yeah, no doubt about it. They are necessary, but they are not of high strategic relevance, like the cashiers. Right? They are necessary. It's easy to find people for a function like this. Now, when we look at the other side, the right-hand top side, you find functions there which are of high strategic relevance. They are really important for a company. Not only necessary, they are critical. You not only have to have good people on these functions, you maybe need to have the best people. Really good people. And at the same time, it's very hard to find people for these functions. So now, here is a third dimension in this picture, which is indicated by the size of the circles. What does that mean? The bigger the circle, the higher is the future quantitative workforce demand. The demand for employees. If the circle is high, is big, it means that this company, in this particular function, will need to hire a lot of people in the upcoming years. If the circle is small, that means that this company will only hire a few people in the upcoming years. Okay? That leads us to a second very important concept. Look at the circle on the left-hand top side. This is a big one. A big circle, significant quantitative workforce demand. At the same time, the availability of talent is very, very limited in the labor market. Okay? I give you a typical example. Look at hospitals, at least in Germany or in the Western industries. In hospitals, it's quite hard to hire nurses. Yeah, it's really hard. Working conditions are not so attractive. Compensation is low. But at the same time, most hospitals have a huge quantitative workforce demand. So once you have this huge quantitative demand, at the same time it's hard to meet this demand, then we name such a function a so-called bottleneck function. Bottleneck function, German Engpassfunktion. Okay? Why is this important? Whenever I work with a company, as a consultant, I always start with this picture. Always. Yeah? Because this gives me a good understanding about where the company stands. Yeah? I see where is the biggest pain, where is the need. Because you can imagine recruiting for a function like this one on the bottom left-hand side, recruiting for this function is quite easy. While recruiting for such a function on the right-hand top side is quite hard. Yeah, and you have to do different things. Here for those functions on the left-hand bottom side, you just use adds. While for those functions which are hard to be filled and where you have a significant demand, you have to do different things. You don't just use adds. You have to do a lot of things. We'll talk about this in the upcoming sessions, right? Even compensation is different. Compensation for a non-critical function is different than compensation for critical functions. Maybe for critical functions you need to pay above market average, while for the others you pay market average or maybe below. So this exercise has a lot of implication for everything we do in HR, right? So this was the first step, understanding what are our bottleneck functions and what are our key functions. This is a starting point. Now, HR planning starts from here. Important question is, how many people do we need in the future? How can we really tell how many engineers we need in the future, how many managers we need in the future, how many cashiers do we need in the future, how much purchase experts do we need in the future? And the question is, can we really anticipate how many people we need in the future? This is related to HR planning, right? Question to you, is it possible really to say how many people we will need in the upcoming years? Is that possible? Yeah, please.
I think it would be difficult because you never know whether the environment the company is in is changing.
Yeah, absolutely. So you don't know about the environment and how it will change, how will the market change. Yeah, market will determine the growth, maybe, revenue and everything. So, yes, I would agree. Other thoughts?
You still can have a roughly information about what would you need because as an HR manager or someone who's working in this company that's working on a strategy, then you're supposed to know what are the goals that you want to achieve.
Yes.
And based on that, you can roughly know what would you need. Maybe not specifically, but still you can have an idea.
Yeah, I would agree. So the point here is, even though we can't predict the future precisely, we have a goal. Yeah, we have objectives, revenue growth or whatever. So once we have a goal, once we have an objective, the next question is, to achieve these goals, how many people do we need on which function, right? So the first step, and this is a very important step for many companies, is to look at their age structure. And this is an example. What you can see here is how many employees or managers do we have of which age, right? Here I made difference between the employees, the gray bars, and the managers, the red bars. So question to you, when you look at this picture, what does that picture tell us?
Most of the people in charge are relatively old.
The people are relatively old, especially the managers.
They will soon retire, and then there are not enough managers to replace them.
Wonderful, yeah. What we can tell from this picture, now look five years into the future or 10 years into the future, you can exactly tell how many managers, how many employees will retire. Huh? That's an easy game, or you can easily make such an age structure analysis, and you can easily tell what will happen in the upcoming years. So this is point one. Is there anything else from which we can determine the future demand? So one thing is we will lose people because of retirement. Is there anything else? Where does demand come from? What does lead to demand?
Consume.
Consume? What does that mean?
Consumption. That means that people need things, and so companies have to supply them. And so the companies have a demand for labor, and then they need the people. So for universities.
So you have a plan for future revenue, right? And maybe you anticipate certain growth. You will grow in the future. If you say, well, we will grow in the upcoming years by 5% every year, then we will have a workforce demand. Yeah. So the second thing, as you pointed out exactly, is growth. What else?
Change in the mega trends.
Sorry?
Change in the mega trend, like you may need the staffs in able to work with the new technology and all.
Okay, I would say this belongs to growth. Yeah. Future developments, things we're going to do in the future will lead to some growth. Yeah.
Need more employees than managers.
Maybe the globalization in future will create further demand than used to be there.
Yeah. Globalization could mean that you want to enter new markets. Yeah. In other terms, that means growth. Yeah. Okay.
Technological improvement so that we don't need any more people.
Technological improvements, absolutely. Think about telecommunication industry. Yeah, for instance. Today, totally different technology than in the past. You have to have totally different people in the future than you had in the past, because they deal with totally different services, they deal with totally different technologies, right? Yeah.
I think here we will need to hire more employees than even managers, even though the chart says that we still have employees but not a lot of managers, because people are going to promote from one stage to another, so probably we will have a lot of new people who we prepare to be managers but not normal employees.
Okay, so sometimes
the demand of employees is going to be like higher.
Okay. So sometimes you look at the ratio of employees and managers, and maybe that does not really fit to what you really want, so you have to adjust accordingly. Yeah, right. Let me add some other points. One thing is turnover. Yeah, you lose people. People quit their job. Yeah. Do you know, as a company, do you know how many people will quit the job next year? You don't exactly know it, but you can guess it from the past. Yeah, you can guess. You have a turnover rate. Yeah? Once you know that in the past you always lost 5% of your workforce, probably you will lose 5% in the future, more or less. Okay. So this picture is a summary of what we just spoken about, and it's a little bit more differentiated. In the middle of this picture, you see one layer of a company, one hierarchical layer. And let's focus on this. When I look at this layer, and let's say this is middle management, to put it simply. Middle management, and the question is, how many people do we need in middle management in the upcoming years? We ask ourselves, where does the demand come from? We said that, okay, there is growth. The company will grow. We say we will grow by 5% every year. That will determine the workforce demand accordingly. We have losses. Yeah? People retire, and we know how many people will retire in the upcoming years. That's an easy game. We will have turnover. People will leave the company voluntarily. We can guess how many people will leave. But also we have promotion. Promotion out of this layer to the next layer. Okay? And that's it. That's it. So we can say it's promotion, it's retirement, it's turnover, it's growth. Yeah? And at least from an academic perspective, I must say, it's quite easy to calculate something like this. In practice, it's not so easy because many companies do not have the data for doing something like this. You know? We will talk about HR controlling in the next course, But to give you just a kind of impression, if you ask a company, how many 30 millimeter screws do you have on stock? They can tell you the exact number. Okay, they have systems, supply chain management systems. They can tell you the exact number. If I ask a company, how many people do you have? Some companies really struggle. They don't even know how many employees they have. Yeah, that's true. If you ask, how many sales managers do you have? They struggle, really. So this is a kind of visionary view. Yeah. But again, if you just take some numbers, if you take future retirement, if you take former turnover and you anticipate that turnover in the future will be the same, once you have growth, you can have at least a rough guess about the future workforce demand, which can look like this. This is really a very simplified example of how strategic workforce planning can look like. Okay? So this is the strategic perspective. Very high level, very general, relates to the company as such. Now let's look at a more operational level. Okay, and here is a list of some major workforce planning methods. I will not go through these methods now, but want to show you two examples. Once we have had a look at these examples, you will immediately understand what these methods really mean. So this is example number one. A company. Okay, so here in the lines we have the different years. Yeah? And in the second column, from the left-hand side, we have the revenue of this company. So in 2003 we have 6 million in revenue. 2012 we have around 12 million. Okay. In the next column you see the number of salespeople. I have to be more precise. You find the term here FTE. FTE is a very important term in HR controlling. It means, as indicated below, full-time equivalent. I should know this term. What is a full-time equivalent? I give an example and you will immediately see. If you have 2 employees working part-time, let's say 50%, yeah, both work half a day, so to speak, then you have 2 employees, but you have 1 full-time equivalent. Okay? Good. So from a controlling perspective, we think in terms of full-time equivalent and we don't care about how many people these are. Okay? So here's the number of sales FTE, and from there we can easily calculate the revenue per sales FTE. This is simply revenue divided by the number of salespeople, sales FTE, to be more precise. Okay? Then we have also other people, people that are not related to sales. So you can see from this picture that this is probably a sales company. They primarily sell. Okay? So then we have the total number of FTE, which is simply the number of salespeople added by the others, and the number of managers. What can we do with these numbers? We can do some things. Yeah, I'll show you. The question now is, now we are in 2012, and the question is, how many people will we need in 2013? Yeah, in the future. We can tell from these numbers that there is a kind of fixed ratio which tells us that the average revenue per salesperson, per sales FTE is around 200,000. Okay? When we look at the revenue growth in the past, we can see that revenue growth is about 8% every year. And to put it simply, we simply anticipate that in next year we will grow by 8% again. Maybe there are reasons to say, well, it's more or less depending on the market. Okay, but we simply tell from the past how things gonna be in the future. Okay. So if revenue growth is 8%, then revenue in 2013 will be around 13 million. Okay. And now from this ratio, average revenue per sales FTE, we can tell that we will probably need 65 sales FTE. Now we have 60, so we need 5 additional FTE. That's easy, okay? That's a very simple statistical method to anticipate the future. There are some more things in this picture. Look at the number of managers, the right-hand column. We can tell from these numbers that there is a span of control in this company which is around 7. Span of control. What does that mean? It's the number of managers. It's the number of employees divided by the number of managers, to put it very simply. Yeah, it's the span of control. Tell us how many employees report to one manager. Okay, so if the span of control is low, then each manager has to take care only about a few people. If span of control is big, managers have to deal with a lot of people in their team. What is better?
Smaller team.
Smaller team. Okay, why?
Because it's easier to communicate.
Yes, it's easier to communicate.
To educate.
Yeah, it's easier to treat the people fairly. Yeah. What is the down? Yeah.
It's expensive though to have so many managers.
Oh yes, it's expensive. You have a lot of managers. If you have a small span of control, you need to have a lot of managers. And as we learned, we should have less. Yeah. What is the other downside of a small span of control? More managers, right?
Too many teams. Too many teams.
Many
That means-
teams.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that means that the coordination between these teams is going to be
Yes.
really hard.
Going to be a mess. Dealing with a lot of teams. Also, the hierarchy. You have a lot of hierarchical levels once you have a small span of control, right? Many levels. Yeah. And that means that the communication from the bottom to the top is much more hard than having limited levels. Yeah? Once the distance from the bottom level to the top level is smaller. Okay, so there is no clear answer which is better. Small span of control, or big span of control. Okay, here we have 7. So we can tell from the number of required people how many managers we need. In 2012, we had 11 managers. Next year, we're going to have probably 85 people, so we have to have 1 manager more. Very simple. Very, very simple. Okay? Next example. The question here is, how many people do we need to run an Italian restaurant, pizzeria? Okay. And that's a real question. And in a recent exam, I asked the question, how many people do you need to run a McDonald's restaurant? Yeah. There was one student who said, well, I know it, I worked there, it's 12. This is not what I expect, you know. It's I don't care how many people work in a McDonald's restaurant. I care whether you can really calculate this. Can you guess it? And when we talk about workforce planning from a professional point of view, I want you to see that you can use some methods, that you can work with some assumptions to calculate this number. Okay? So let's simply do this by using a method which is named the task analysis. So the first thing is, what we do is we have some assumptions. Some really simple assumptions. And here my assumptions are, we have 200 guests per day. Okay? I don't know whether this is valid, reliable or not. Just let's simply assume this, okay? We have 3 guests per table on average. So we have 67 tables per day. The restaurant opens 15 hours a day. And I assume that every guest on average has 2 drinks. So from there, I can easily tell how many times we have to do which task. Now we have some core tasks. 67 times we have to prepare a table. 67 times we have to take an order. Because I assume that every guest will eat in pizza, we have to prepare 200 pizzas. Billing, 67 times. We have to chat with the people 67 times. And we have to prepare 400 drinks. Now the next step is, I simply look at how much time do we need per task. So how much time does it need to prepare a table? Well, I would say 2 minutes. How much time does it take to take an order? 3 minutes. Prepare a pizza, 4 minutes. It's not the total time for preparing a pizza. It's really only the work time. Yeah, maybe 4 minutes, and so on. So multiplying the number of tasks by the duration per task will lead us to the right-hand column, duration in hours. So 2 hours preparing table, 13 hours for preparing pizza, and so on. So in total, 28 hours. But people in an Italian restaurant, they not only do the core tasks, they do some additional tasks. They have breaks. The question is whether this is a task, but it happens. Right? We have breaks, some administrative tasks, counting the money and so on. Right? Miscellaneous things, 20%. Just guessing. So on top to the 28 hours, we have 10 hours. In total, 38 hours. Working hours per day are 8 hours per FTE, so to speak, which lead us to total 47 full-time equivalent. Simply 38 hours divided by 8. So if you ask me, how many people do you need to run an Italian restaurant? This is the answer. Now there are probably 2 reactions. Yeah, some of you might say, "Wow, now I understand. That makes totally sense." Yeah? Some of you might say, "Oh, sorry, that's bullshit. No restaurant works like this. It's much more complicated. These assumptions are wrong. You can't tell that you have 200 guests in a day. You have some days where you have 100, another day you have 300. So you can't assume that 2 drinks per guest. I mean, sorry, if you have a lot of students in the restaurants, probably more. Yeah? So you could say, well, this is crap. Probably the truth is somewhere in between. Yeah? It's much better than just guessing. Yeah? If you ask an HR director, how many people do we need for running an Italian restaurant? They say, I don't know. 8? 4? I don't know. Let's say 6. No? Oh. Nobody would rely on this HR director. But as soon as you use some assumptions, some calculations, it will lead to certain numbers. On top of this, you can say, well, we assume this, knowing that this is not really precise, so to be safe, just add 20% on this, and then we're going to be safe. Okay? In practice, you do workforce planning like this. You do it when you plan the workforce demand for projects. You simply look at what will be the task, How much time do we need for these tasks? And then you come to an answer. Now, let me flip back to this more boring slide. We have talked through all these methods. The first one are the leading indicators. What is that? A leading indicator is a fixed ratio between performance and the workforce demand. Right? It's we have so many employees. There is a span of control which says that we have 7 employees per manager. If we have 70 employees, we have to have 10 managers. It's a fixed ratio. Or as indicated here, some universities have a fixed ratio of how many professors do we need per student, or how many students do we have per professor, okay? Or how many nurses in a company, in a hospital per an amount of patients, okay? Trend analysis. We had this example where we had to look at revenue development in the past, and we simply anticipate that the future is going to be the same. We look at the trend at the past and anticipate that in the future will be the same, and from there we can tell the future demand. The Italian restaurant example was about task analysis, looking at the tasks, analyze how much time the different tasks will require, and from there we calculate the workforce demand. A final one is conclusion by analogy. If you really build a McDonald's restaurant on the green field, you not always start on scratch. You know it's we already have set up a lot of McDonald's restaurants. We knew from the past, from other cities, how many people we need. So probably we will need the same amount of people here. Yeah. Okay. You just tell from other cases, from other companies, how many people you need. Okay. Most importantly, I want you to understand the top 3 methods.